Hello,
Ooh, ooh.
heathens.
Oh, to the heathens.
To the heathen people. How's your week
Well,
been?
good. Tired. Tired.
Yeah,
Lot. Very glad to be here.
same. Today's my first day in like almost 3 weeks that I have the day by myself, to myself. And it has been so glorious.
Glorious silence or whatever I want.
Literally, I'm like, this is amazing.
Hmm.
Oh, man. So last week we talked about divine masculine, and this week we are
Oop,
talking
oop.
the divine feminine.
Oh my God, I realized as soon as I started studying, researching, that I know nothing about being feminine. And I definitely come from a place of masculine. And I was like, oh, lordy, lordy. So this was very insightful for me.
I agree. It was insightful for me too, because it's like trying to keep in mind that we have all these energies within us, right, is hard. Because it's like you also, there's like this toxic side of femininity where you're like, I don't want to be weak and I don't want to like, but also I don't want to be hard and I don't want to be this woman that's always like, I can do it all on my own all the time. And it's like,
That's
geez,
hard. That's really hard. I've done that. It's really hard to do it all by yourself.
it's so hard. It's so hard. And then of course, us being women, I have no idea what it feels like to be a man who has to run with like a more masculine feeling, or even a person that just feels more male presenting, but like has all this like hardness they have to break through. Cause like divine femininity can look like weakness to them. And like, I can't even go there in my head because I can't figure it out for myself yet.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is that, with this, at least when I was reflecting back on the stuff that I was, when I was researching this, I was like, oh, for what I was presented to me about how to be feminine was basically to dress up masculinity in a woman's suit. And that's how I decided. That's how I'm trying. There we go. Here we go. That's how I project who I am.
Right.
So with the class that I've been taking, this is kind of goes all together. We've been working on Earth and really like there's a lot of rituals we're doing with Earth. We have to plant seeds. And what I found in one of my last rituals is that the power in motherhood and the power of being a mother, and I'm not talking about like you have to have a baby to be a mother. Like I'm not talking about that, but like that mother energy and how much it gives us and how much we need it as people, even when we're adults and stuff, like how to, I don't know, just finding that uh the beauty inside of it, or how cool it is to really find that balanced energy. And not, not what I thought a mother would be or not. And I think at some point, like being a mother is like uncool, kind of. And so you always are like, yeah, yeah, I'm a mom, but I'm cool. Like, and there was a point of it where like both of those thoughts kind of merged together to become one. And I thought that was really cool.
Right. That is really cool. I imagine that's really hard to like navigate those waters. Waters.
Waters.
My tongue got a little caught there. Waters.
I have water. You want some water?
We start sending material through the ether, like water.
Ether.
That would be so cool. Send me something to eat. I mean, I did eat, but if you guys don't know this about me, I'm always hungry.
always hungry.
Oh,
There was one of the things I looked up, and the guy was like, there's 3 things that you need to keep your woman happy. And it made my job as boyfriend way easier. One of them is just listen and give her a hug. The next is feed her. And then foreplay starts way before you get in bed.
yes.
Those those 3 simple things will keep every woman ever happy.
That man has it figured the hell out.
Fuck yeah. I was like, oh my God, a hug and a sandwich?
And then you're going to touch me lovingly before we even hit the bed?
What is my world coming to?
We don't know. I would like to meet that man. He should start a TED Talk.
Right? Seriously, I need a step-by-step process.
Seriously. Well, yeah, I guess let's jump into it, man.
Great. What'd you get?
So, I wanted to talk about the differences like we did with masculine and break it down really quick
Mhm.
before we do anything else and describe what the divine feminine within all of us is and what it's connected to so that we can kind of understand it. Because, like last time, we were talking about how you want to think about it like the head and the brain, right? So, your
Right.
masculine's your head. And this time, we're talking about your divine feminine, which is your heart. And remember, no matter your gender presenting self, we all have it. As humans, we all have it.
Right. Absolutely. This is just looking at it more like an objective thing than like, your the ego inside of us.
Yeah, think about it like a ball of energy inside of you, you guys, and we all have it. And we
Mm-hmm.
call this ball of energy that projects this kind of energy the divine feminine. And today we're talking basically about your heart. So the divine
Oh,
feminine is going to be connected to fertility, birth, and I tried to, you guys, I tried to say this word so many times today because I keep messing it up because dyslexia, it's in there, but it will not come out right. So cyclical nature of life, which is like your events happening in particular order, and it's like one right after the other, and it follows in repeat, kind of like seasons, kind of like the moon.
secular. It's circular, but it's secular.
It's like cyclical, I think. I don't know, but
I,
basically, it's kind of like how seasons happen and they follow one right after the other. The moon cycles happen and they follow one right after the other and they repeat all the time. It's basically the circle of repetition. So, what that does is it allows and reminds us to look within and listen to our bodies, like encouraging thought, reflection, and emotional presence. That's the cycle that the divine feminine constantly promotes, is like looking within, checking in with our emotional presence, reflection. The divine feminine in you is going to encourage a lot of thought so that you're thinking about these things. So you're constantly looking at these things. And what I had found, which was really cool, was this like little, and it says there isn't a specific way to experience divine feminine. It's complex and evolving. You experience different facets of it throughout your lifetime, and you grow and evolve through friendships, partnerships, and family dynamics, which, duh, but like having it spelled out was like kind of cool reminder of like, that's so right. You can't really tell one person what they're going to experience within this energy because we're
mm-hmm.
all going to be at different points in our life when we're talking about it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's always gonna look different. Anyway, and that's why we have so many goddess figures because they're all different. They all have different aspects of it, right? Like, but you
Yeah.
combine them all together and they're the mother. They're the great goddess. Like,
They are you. You are
absolutely.
them.
Mm-hmm.
So, the divine feminine again is your heart. It's more in tune with your intuition, your creativity, and your emotional inner world. So, it's going to be about charting your inner space and giving yourself nurture and love and peace and calm.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, while your divine masculine tends to take charge and act alone, the divine feminine is more open to collaboration and communication.
Right.
Which that's when Nicole and we were talking before the podcast, that's like what was hitting me because I'm like, yeah, man, like as girls, especially raised by a older generation, because I was also raised by the same generation you were, because my grandparents, I feel like there was this big play on like, you need to be independent. You got to do it your own. You're 18. Well, figure it out, honey. And it like
Mm-hmm.
made your divine masculine pop up in there and be like, okay, we got to do this. Like that whole take charge and action alone. You had to.
Yeah, for my family, like I have learned a lot about how abandonment issues we have, like, and it started with my grandma losing her mother.
Ooh,
And I think that really killed the femininity in us.
wow.
And so and I get the whole thing of like, I was just thinking about this, about like society wise, like we were before like 1800s, like obviously a woman wasn't like worth anything. They were made to be pretty and give babies, and boy babies by that way, not even like girl babies. We needed to like produce boys.
Yep. Yep.
And then we had the revolution of the women standing up for their rights. And that's really where I feel like that's really where they stepped into the masculine, because they had to. They had to push past this like barrier. And so they had to step into their masculine to overcome the obstacles that we had in front of us, right? So that way we could vote, that way we could stop getting beaten and raped and all this other stuff, right?
Right.
Um Now what I see is we can really we we are getting, it's a little weird being in the temperature that the world is right now, but I do see it this way, is that we're really coming into our feminine. So we are finding safe places for us to be vulnerable and realizing that it's okay to be vulnerable and to be taken care of, and to like, I'm not weak if I have him go get groceries for us. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Like I'm not weak if he comes in and like does some work while I'm sitting in bed nurturing myself, right? Like,
Yep.
but I was not taught that way at all. I had to do it all. And I realized at this point in my life that it's way too hard, and it's way too stressful, and there's no need for it. And it takes the masculine away from my husband. And then if I take the masculine away from my husband, I'm not even attracted to him anymore, because he's not fulfilling his side of the bargain, right? Because I took it from him.
Yeah. Do you know what I do, you guys, to like, I just realized this because it does make me feel like damsel in distress. Let me be a girl. I can't do that. You need to do it for me. And then it feels good is I make Jordan open my cans. I pop cans or like cider cans or anything. Cause I'm like, well, my nail, I can't do it. It's
I
gonna
don't want to
hurt.
break my nail. Right, right.
And now I don't even have to ask him. I'll just like put it in front of him. He just pops it open for me. And it's just this little small thing that makes me feel so girly. And
Mm-hmm.
I just like, I haven't realized it until like right now that I'm like, oh my God, I'm blushing right now because it's a little embarrassing in some form where I'm like, ugh.
But
And I'm
it's
like,
not.
yeah,
It's like you receiving, and it's an easy way to like have that moment.
yes,
Like Rob lighting my cigarette. Like, you
yeah,
know, like that's girly, and like, and it's a great way to just have a moment.
yeah. It's like both Rob and Jordan are tall, very tall, and Nicole and I are not very tall. And so, like, even just having them grab something out of a cupboard that you can't reach just feels like it makes you feel feminine in a soft way where you're like, I don't have to go and get a freaking step stool or a chair or some shit, climb up on the counter and get it my
Hmm.
damn self.
Well, in this way, it almost like makes him worth it, right? Like he's wanted, he's needed in your life, right? Because we
Yeah.
are so independent. Like, but you know what? I like got to a point where I don't want to get a stool. You're already 6'2". Can you just
Can you just get it? You're not even doing anything. You're standing there talking to me. While you're talking, can you just grab it? Because they both do this. Like stand in the kitchen and talk to us while we're doing stuff
mm-hmm.
and like just be talking and you're like, can you grab that? can, can you do this?
Oh, I don't even do that. I just point.
You've gotten to a point where you just go,
Have you
that.
uh,
Eh.
yeah.
It's just those parts of us as like women that make us feel good being women. It's like it kind of brings out a little bit of softness because it's hard. A lot of the times, I feel like I see this a lot, and this is not for everybody. I'm not saying every person does this, but as a woman, and I see a lot of women that are female presenting, and they have this thing where it's like a constant heavy mental load, right? Where it's like they're the ones running all the bill paying, they're the ones ordering all the groceries, getting all the groceries, they're cleaning the house, they're making the food, they're taking the kids to school, they're picking the kid up. There's like a lot that's on their plate. And when that like divine feminine and the man sees it and they start jumping in, it's like creates this beautiful relationship between the two energies that
Mm-hmm.
just can melt so prettily together where both partners feel equal in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also allows the femininity within us to not have to be so hard all the time, meaning like our masculine's not the forefront presenting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, no, no. I got it. I could do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that can also be hard to like let that go and allow them to help.
Oh, absolutely. Because like asking for help is my main wound, basically. Like I will ask for help because I've noticed I've done this, is that I will ask for help. And as soon as you say something, it doesn't even matter what you say. I was like, no, no, it's fine. I got it. I got it. It's fine.
Yes.
And for it to get to that point where I'm asking for help, it's already bad because I would never ask for help. I never ask for help.
I've done this to
Nope.
Nicole. Okay. Nicole and I have been friends for what, 5, 6 years, something like that, maybe even
Mm-hmm.
7.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really close, obviously. And over time, even her being a strong, independent woman, who I'm very close with, I have had a very hard time opening up to her about things I've gone through before, albeit it just be a financial thing or a relationship thing with a friend or just something that like you
Mm-hmm.
would want that motherly figure for to rely on. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to like let that nurturing mother energy take over when you are in a spot of hurt where you're like, your divine or your toxic masculine at that point is trying to protect
Yeah.
your feminine inside of you because your
Mm-hmm.
feminine can't find the creativity, can't find the thoughts to fix it. And he's like, well, I'm just going to take over. We're going to keep this to ourselves and we're going to figure it out. And
Right.
it's so hard to combat that and be like, dude, you need help sometimes. You need that nurturing. You need that care.
Right. Well, and that's and you and I both know, like, when one of us is going through it, it's still so funny because like we try to hide it so much. And it's like like I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just know.
It is funny. It'll happen a lot. Like Nicole will be like, Are you are you okay? Is something happening with this? And I'll be like, no, no, I'm fine. It's fine.
It's
But
fine.
we talked about this, right? What did Bonnie say, you guys? What's the definition of fine?
Fine.
It means
Again,
everything's a dumpster fire.
everything is a toaster fire. What is it? Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yes. It's the fours. What do we call that? What's the full golden rules or whatever? It's the four
Oh, the
golden
four
rules of
agreements.
yeah, it's the 4 agreements of fine.
Fine. Fine. Well, before as we go forth with all this kind of feminine stuff, I think that every woman should Google, TikTok, YouTube, femininity, and find what it means to them. Because I feel that, I've heard over and over again about how this, how we're evolving into this world. And right now we're in a very dark place, right? So as we go forward, what we're trying to do is balance these energies out because they've been so unbalanced for so long.
Mhm.
So what we need to do is find our femininity, find out how to receive. Let me say that again. Find out how to receive and what that looks like. Because I feel like we have such a messed up version of like what we think a woman should be, and we don't really know the true definition of it. And I'm not saying everybody, some people have gotten there way before I have, and I get it. But I'm just saying that I think it's something we really need to look into and find our power in that, because as soon as that shifts into what femininity is supposed to be, your masculine will either show up or balance inside of you, so you won't be that toxic masculine inside of you that's trying to protect all of it, protect his queen, his heart. It was a real eye opener. It really was a real eye opener about all of this, because I was like, oh, okay, I do all of this.
Well, and pulling one of those energies, either the divine masculine or the divine feminine, into the light, regardless of, again, who you are, pulling one into the light is going to happily pull the other one into the light. They're
Mm-hmm.
both going to walk into the light. So if you fix one of these two energies within of you and you really focus on it, whichever one you want, for whatever feels right to you, you're going to pull them both into the light.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like the two sides of the same coin thing. You're pulling that whole coin into the light. You're not just able to pull one side of a coin into the light. You have to pull both.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. It's like they'll walk hand in hand back up
Mm-hmm.
to the surface. And then that shadow side can
Yeah.
stay in the shadows.
Well, he can walk with us too. It's fine.
Yeah,
Uh, so what else did you get? Because I think you and I get different things, which I think are gonna play well together. Because mine were more like feelings and relationship things, and I think you got more of like the other half of that.
I got some archetypes for you guys, and then I have some ways to connect with your divine feminine because I don't want to leave you guys. Of course, you guys listen to us too for this kind of advice. So I found some ways that I would really like that even I didn't even think like about doing, kind of like how the last one we were talking about divine feminine or masculine, and like working with the father energy in us. It's still, I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means. I know what it means, but
I'll fix it. That's what it
inner
means.
world stuff. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about some archetypes within the divine feminine, because again, this, like I had said, the divine feminine energy in us is complex, right? And there's a lot of different realms within it. It's kind of like layers of the same energy. And so this really helped me today when I was researching and be like, oh, that I can look at it like that, so that I can start to help myself be more aware of these energies. Um, so the first one is the maiden, and she represents youth, beauty, and innocence. And she's a free spirit and often depicted as the beginning of your feminine journey, where we're more open-minded and enthusiastic about life. And then the second one's going to be the lover. And that's going to be the divine feminine in you that's connected to seduction and confidence and the mystery and sensuality. And she's more based around passion and beauty. Then there's the priestess or mystic, and this is our ability to understand and process occult knowledge. The wise woman archetype is what they're calling it, is often seen as we mature and is exemplified by divination, wisdom, teaching, and that inner knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's the mother, and that's our ability to create, nurture, and be caregivers. And she represents fertility and abundance. The warrior, the warrioress, that feels really hard to say. Or the huntress. And this is an archetype of independence and freedom. And she's the wild, untamed, and fiercely protective of the one she loves. So when that energy can come out, that's going to be that energy in you. And the last one is the queen. And she represents power, strategy, and leadership. And she allows us to make decisions thoughtfully and helps our intuition be the guide of our long-term goals. So like the Empress card would be a good one for that one too. She allows for creation and blessings and all endeavors. But I thought these really, really cool to look at, because when you start healing your inner, your divine feminine, you start to like get these kind of feelings. And I feel like for me to be able to break it down into these different archetypes within myself helps me to understand it better, instead of just being like, well, am I like the huntress really hit me, because I was like, that independence and freedom can look feminine too. And I was like, I have to like think about what that looks like inside without it being that toxic hurt masculinity inside of me that's like, we are independent and we are strong and we can do it all on our own, you know?
Yeah, right. I feel like we have this like um ideas that they are, but I don't feel like they're actually like the ideas that are like toxicity and what is standing in your power. I feel like we are like, well, I can't be a needy girl because like that's that's being needy, and needy is wrong. And then I'm toxic. But having needs aren't needy.
Right. Right. And I feel like that goes into a lot of these. There's a lot of these that I'm like, being the lover, you're not allowed to be seductive.
No,
You're
you're
not
a
allowed to be
whore.
confident.
You're a whore.
The queen,
No,
you're not
God.
allowed to represent a powerful woman. You're not allowed to
Mm-mm.
be a strategist or a leader, not
Mm-mm.
without looking like you're toxic.
Mm-mm.
Like what
Absolutely.
the flip side of that would be controlling,
Mm-hmm.
right? The flip side of the seduction would be being a temptress.
I mean, even think about like if I called you a queen, you know, there's one aspect obviously that is a positive, powerful meaning, but then there's another one that like, oh, I don't want to be a queen. I don't want to be like that. Like it's like taught to be small and not stepping into our power is, literally this like blanket of like how we think a woman should be. And it's like, no, being a queen is not a bad thing.
See,
And
and
it
for
doesn't have to be toxic.
right. And like for me on the flip side of that, I'm like, I don't want to be a queen because I don't want to be in control of everything. I don't
Right.
want to have the weight of the world on my back and making decisions for the whole entire like
Realm.
group, the realm, the
The
ether,
realm. The ether.
the realm. I don't
The
want to do that.
realm.
That's a lot of pressure. And like, then it's like, how do you balance like your masculine with that too, you know? So I feel like there's like all these flip sides to everything that you have to think about for yourself. And like, I think breaking down the archetypes types and seeing which ones I really resonated with were, it's like cool because it's like kind of makes me feel better about some of the things that like me specifically am into. Like I've always been a very sex positive person, and I think that bodies are
Mm-hmm.
amazing in so
Mm-hmm.
many ways. Cause like if we want to get down to the nitty gritty, like gross side of it, your body can go through a lot of freaking trauma physically and
Mm-hmm.
heal and get
And
back to
heal.
normal. And it blows my freaking mind. It blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that like all of our organs, I think in 7 years, your body regenerates all your organs. Like, what?
That's like mind blowing to me. You're basically a new human every 7 years.
The fact that our eyes keep them watered and we see, they keep moist by themselves and we see out of them. Like, I, I could go on.
Oh, I
Just the
could
fact
too.
that, blood pumps through our veins and that, like,
I could, this is a rabbit hole that I started to open the door to. So if you're sorry, but like the body just blows my freaking mind. So I
Mhm.
really have this like love for bodies, regardless of
Mhm.
what you look like. Like I have never in my life looked at one person and been like, ew. Because
Right.
I find it so cool. Like we went out for one of my Jordan's friends' birthdays on Saturday, and there was these girls that walked in and would be considered thick girls. I couldn't stop looking at them. These girls
Mhm.
were wearing whatever the hell they wanted, and they look good as hell. Good as
Mhm.
hell. And I was just like, I kept being like, ooh, oh my God. Like in a good way where it was like, damn, bitch, I'm over here in a t-shirt, like uncomfy with my body, and you're walking in like your shit don't stink, and I am jealous.
Mhm.
It looks so
It's
good.
well, and that's the really nice thing that's come out, lately is the fact that it's healthy to be heavy, right? Without it being like looked down upon or that, you're less of a human because you are heavy.
Yeah,
And, it's hard because like you're walking this line of like, how to be confident but not be mean, how to be confident and compassionate, and how to
yes,
like, because I feel insecure about the way I look, I don't want to have, I don't want to have to like protect myself
right.
from what I think it's almost like I'm projecting other things onto people, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's why I was noticing in myself. I was like, dang, man, the lover in me, she's been gone for a hot minute now, going through all these other changes. And I started to feel her coming back in the other day. And I was like, where have you been, friend? Where have you
Where have you
been?
been?
I missed you. So it's like nice to have these little breakdowns to like really start thinking about where these energies come from and what they look like all within that same
Mhm.
energy for me. Cause then it's also nice to be like, okay, that's not a bad thing to be a sexual person and to like that part of yourself. It's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Here's my
That one's
validation.
Yeah, that one's really hard because I know when I was growing up it was more about if you were sexual, you were a bad girl.
You are
You
a
know,
harlot.
you were a harlot, which is funny because you're like, does that stop me from living life? No, none of that does. But you don't even know what you're doing it for. Like at that point, like sex was used more as intention getting than it was to be sexual. And we don't even talk about sexuality and femininity at all. Like that is a couple when we get into the teenager segment or episode, I'll talk a little more about this, but like I've been talking to some young girls and they have really been expressing like sexual content and not in a gross way, in more of an educational and why isn't this being teached kind of way. And I was like, girl, I know. Like all of us had to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's been. Is that we've
Mm-hmm.
had to literally thrown to the woods and figure it out. And you either cover it up completely or, you're shunned by society.
Yes.
And those were really hard, pendulum swings that were presented to us. Because
Yep.
I know,
And
like, if
then
they said one more thing about like how the schools were doing the whole like they had to have their straps had to be like 2 fingers.
yeah, because the shoulder really does it for you.
Oh God, because the boys can't like contain themselves.
They can't handle a damn collarbone.
Well, no, I can't. I can't.
Those
Collarbones are hot, dude.
collarbones, man, really does it for Nicole. Send pics of the collarbones
just,
unsolicited.
just the collarbone.
Yeah, I remember that in school. Like your shorts had to be below your fingertips, your middle finger, I think it was, and
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't wear spaghetti straps,
Mm-mm.
and just all these things where it's like, dude, the boys could walk around, they could take their shirts off during practices and stuff, but God forbid the girls' shorts were at half of their leg.
All right.
Ah,
And the funny thing is like when the guys take off their shirt, I'm like, distracted too.
Yeah.
I'm always like, don't look at the I have a thing about nipples. I'm like, don't look at their nipples. Don't look at their nipples. Don't look at their nipples. Even like girls, like if they got their boobs out, I'm like, don't look at their boobs.
Oh,
Don't
I'm looking.
look at the eyes. Look at the eyes. Look.
I'm looking. I'm looking.
You do you, girl.
Yeah, I'm like unshamefully, I can't help it. Your nipples are in front of my face. What you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that feeling where it's like bodies are bodies, man. Like I just don't. I guess I can understand there is a difference in thinking about it sexually, right? Versus thinking about it as like an appreciation for somebody else's body.
Mm-hmm.
But like, man, it kills me how sexualized it is sometimes and how sexuality is discriminated upon, basically,
Oh
especially as a
yeah.
woman. You're not allowed to be sexual. You're hardly.
Oh yeah. You're not allowed, but I need babies. So you're only allowed to be sexually when I say you need to be sexual. And if you dress that way, you ask for it. And by the time you're 35 or 40, you're basically used up. So like I have women in my chair all the fucking time that are upset because they're over 45 or 50 or whatever, right? And I started thinking about this and I'm like, are you I think I've come to the conclusion of like we think we're supposed to be 18 for the rest of our lives. Let
I,
you like let that sink in just for a minute. 18 for the rest of our that's what we're supposed to that's our goal.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to be 18 ever again, to be honest.
No.
I'm almost 30 and I've never felt this good about myself in my whole life. My 30, almost 30 years of life, I feel better and better every year I keep going. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
18 ever again. I want to experience 20s. I'm almost out of the 20s, and I think my 20s, I'm glad we're closing that chapter, baby, because that it's so hard because when we talk about this in teenagers too, you guys, especially for girls right now, it is
Mm-hmm.
really hard to, and again, we'll get into this deeper in the future. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but this pertains to the conversation because it's like, I don't think people realize how hard it is to become a teenager, a young adult, and then a girl in your 20s. It's very hard because this is where I feel like also a lot of that toxic femininity has to come up into play to be able to feel like you have a place in the world. Because
Right.
otherwise you're too young for this, you're not old enough for that, you're too young to think like this, you're not like it's weird. And then we get into
Mm-hmm.
this place where we finally feel a little bit of comfort. And then we get into this place where we start maturing and now we hate ourselves because we're not that young girl again. But when you think about your young girl life compared to where you're at, like, why would you want to experience that again?
Absolutely.
You know?
Like it's so disheartening that like we can't grow old gracefully when we're all going to do it. I
Right.
mean, yeah, some people don't make it, but I'm saying that like we're on this track, like the track's not changing, right? Like you're gonna go there, so you might as well embrace it. But none of us are taught that. So I hear stuff like, "Oh, I can't like get a divorce because nobody will want me because I'm 50," or now that my husband's gone, like I can't get another man because I'm old. And I'm like, are you looking for 18-year-olds? Because like that's the only person that's going to think you old. There's guys out there that are the same age as you that want you.
Right. Right.
Right.
It kills me because uh my favorite one, this has happened many times, you guys. Um Sometimes Nicole will come into my suite and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is Nicole. And I'll be like, oh, and like they think Nicole's so much younger than they are. They think she's so much younger than they are. They literally think she's my age. And when they find out Nicole's almost the same age as them, if not older sometimes, Their
Mm-hmm.
fucking minds melt. You literally watch it melt because they're blown away that this woman is walking around looking how she does, doesn't give a flying fuck who likes it or doesn't because it makes her happy. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot comprehend it because they live in this world where they're constantly looking at younger women and being like, why don't I look like that anymore?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even like, has it been hard to grow older? Yeah, it's been a little hard. Like, I've noticed changes in my body, and at first I start to get super critical about it. And then I go, well, it's not like nobody's going to not talk to me because I have another wrinkle. It's not like I'm not going to receive love from my partner, from my friends, from my family because I'm a little older, because I have a little more like, because my tits sag, or like my thighs are too big and they have, you know what I mean? Like all these flaws, like nobody wants to hear that bullshit. Not even me. I don't want to hear it anymore. Right. Like, so now I've changed that. I tried to change that kind of like talk about myself, even my inner dialogue about how healthy I am, how beautiful I am, how like my legs work. I thank my legs because they work and they're strong. Like I thank God that like my digestive tract works and that like it can go through and everything is great. Cause like if it doesn't work, it's bad. Like
It's bad news bears.
bad, very bad news bears. Yes. Like my
Yes,
lungs that breathe in and breathe out, like these things that we, because I'm not, this like spell that has been casted that I need to be a size two, that I need to be a certain height, that I need to be even a certain age. Like, even like with like, you gotta get facials and like, think of how much money they spend or that they get from us just because they can tell us that we're old and we have wrinkles, which is natural and normal.
this is a really good conversation, but it makes me so frustrated because sometimes, like you guys,
Hmm.
I have the same thing happen. I have a few usual suspects that do it every single time, talk about it
Hmm.
every single time. And you know what I've started doing? Because a lot of these women, I feel like this is also something we all need to look at. Who are you following online?
Oh, absolutely. I just told my client about this.
Who are you following on Instagram? Who are you following on TikTok? Are you following 21-year-olds that are tiny and in their youth and in
Yes.
their prime? I mean, good for them. That's great. You should be celebrating them, not looking at yourself and being like, I'll never be 21 again. I'll never look like that again. Or you could be on the flip side of that of I'm going to do every cosmetic surgery there is to change my looks to try to be like that. And if that's how you want to do, then more power to you, as long as it makes you
Absolutely.
feel better.
As long as it makes you feel better in the long run. That's the biggest thing, is you can't do it. This is why people get addicted to it, is because they like do it and then they still didn't fix the feeling. So then they do it
Exactly.
again.
It's this
Trying.
toxic cycle
Hmm.
where sometimes, you guys, this is why we do this. You got to fix the internal. It's not the
Absolutely.
external that's going to fix it. You have to do the inner work. And if you still do the inner work and you're like, okay, I have to do this external to help my inner world, then fucking do it, dude. We're not judging that because like I've gotten filler well once in my life. It was a whole experience, but I still wanted to try it. I'm not saying
Hmm.
I'll never get Botox. Who
Well,
knows?
tattoos are body mortification, like this is, I
Yes,
can't say, like I even have a plan, like my plan is
my plan is.
my plan. So what I want to do when I'm about 60-ish, and that's in pencil, it's a ish. I want to like go in
Keep in mind, she
full
said it's in pencil.
into a pencil. I want to go in, I want to do a neck tuck, I want to do a boob lift, and I mean, really, I just want everything to really pulled up and then I'm gonna sail into my 90s like that. Do you know what I mean?
You know what we could do is we'll just like pull your skin back and clip it.
And
But
clip
we'll
it.
use those big black ones, the really
Yeah.
strong ones.
Oh, the one they do in the wedding dress things.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
just use those and you'll be good. It'll be cheap and you'll feel better. You won't be able to lay on your back or Really, we'll have to figure out clothes for you, but it'll be fine.
I we'll just put a bunch of them in there and I'll look like a dinosaur. Like I have spikes in the back. It'll be fine. It'll be a fashion thing.
It'll be a new body modification.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll feel better about yourself. Who knows?
Who knows?
If not, we'll put some more till your skin's so tight that your eyes are popping out.
Oh, that's not cool. I don't like that.
Too far.
Too far. Too far.
Too far. Speaking of the conversation that we're having right now, this goes along with some of the ways that I found to connect with your divine feminine. I feel like this is the one that Nicole and I struggle with a lot, and it goes along with our conversation right now extremely well. And it's that we need to let go of imposter syndrome.
Shut
We
up.
gotta throw it in the trash. We gotta start uplifting ourselves so we can uplift other people, and that's gonna bring out that divine feminine. But let me tell you guys, we know how uneasy this one is to fight. It's hard, man.
It's so hard because imposter syndrome is that gaslighting we do to ourselves.
Yes.
And we know exactly the right words to say to believe our gaslighting.
Fuck yeah, man. We sure do.
I'm really good at it.
We talked about it last night. We were talking about something and we were saying Gaslight City.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
gas light on every square inch of that city. Some of us live there. We walk through the gas lights to find a new one that's lit.
Gaslight district.
It is. It's a district and we live there sometimes. Another one that'll help you heal your divine feminine is going to be being true to yourself. And I think that goes along with our conversation we were just talking about too. There's this pressure to fit into a box. And it's fucking real, dude. And I encourage you, I implore you to speak your truth and to live your truth. Because that is going to help that divine feminine within you.
Absolutely. I will add to that because there was one of those things about they talked about express your feelings and stop being passive aggressive. Express your feelings.
Yes.
And stop being passive aggressive.
Honor and assess your emotions, my guy. My lady, my person.
Absolutely. Because like this is the thing is we think that our feelings are not valid.
Yes.
And then if I express my feeling to you about what is wrong with me, then I'm being needy, I'm being whatever the toxic word for like whatever mind fuck you're trying to tell yourself that you're not worthy enough for your feelings to be expressed. And I will tell you, as soon as you do this, your relationship with men will completely change, or the masculine energy, I should say, not like men in general, whatever. It's one of those things. Stop being passive aggressive and tell them how you feel. Anybody, your best friend, your whatever, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is, express your feelings truthfully. I feel like you hurt me. There's nothing wrong with that.
We talked about this in anger, about what it looks like when your boundaries get crossed, about what happens and how to express that stuff in a healthy way, because it's normal to have boundaries crossed. We're all human. We can't freaking walk everybody's boundary line all the time.
Yeah. Oh God, there was somebody who was talking about boundaries. I go, that's a boundary. What are you doing? Like, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't pull it out of the ether right now. So we'll just go on.
The ether's like, no.
No. I can't remember who I talked to.
I feel like along with that one, Nicole, another one that I had too was like sensing your inner heart, getting and connecting a connection with your heart. And there's a lot you guys can look up on this, like different meditations you could do, different kinds of things you can do. But the biggest thing with that is like also allowing your self-kindness and compassion and forgiveness, because we are always giving. Like you said earlier, we need to receive. And sometimes that reception needs to come from ourselves. Because we're not able to take care of our own hearts. So most of the time we're focused on other people's hearts. We're like, well, I'll help them, I'll help them,
Yeah.
I'll help them. But we're not giving that kindness to ourselves.
No, because we're projecting everything outward instead of projecting inward, right? So like this
Yes.
this part gets lonely
Yes.
because you're not putting any attention to it. You're putting it all out there. You're obsessing about the world out there instead of really obsessing about yourself. And I don't mean it in a selfish way. I mean
No.
it in a very healthy, like, I'm going to take a bath because that's what I need right now.
Yep. And keep this in mind, you guys. There's this saying that it comes up in my head all the time. Hurt people, man. You can't
Absolutely.
help heal somebody else when you're hurting. You
Absolutely.
don't know what you don't know. If you don't even know what that looks like, how are you going to offer help?
Mm-hmm.
How are you truly offering help? Or are you offering the same pains that you have and projecting them onto somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Projection. There's that projection.
Projection. I can't wait for that episode. You guys are
Oh
gonna be like,
my God.
Cassie and Nicole canceled.
Canceled.
Canceled. Another one that goes along with you saying take a bath, Nicole, is exploring your sensuality and engaging in self-care. And when you
Mm-hmm.
prioritize that, you can get really in touch with your body and you can connect with your body and start experience like pleasure and receiving and slowing
Mm-hmm.
down and reveling in peace and calm and nurturing.
Yeah, a lot of times. So like when we are having well, I gotta wait. Hold on. That was very dramatic.
That was so
Like
dramatic. The drama.
the drama. Well, I'm gonna talk about sex, so of course it had to be like that, right? So when I'm having sex, like I literally think about the divine feminine inside me. I think about receiving. I start thinking about how to make myself more goddess-like. Um, it's something that, and it being in the moment and being like not worrying about like my belly's too big or my thighs are too big or like all this little stuff that gets in your head and in the way of you experiencing this pleasure, and it's like we forget and we don't talk about this and we don't give ourselves permission to enjoy sex.
And be fully present in
And
that moment.
right, it's not a chore to get done. You need to experience this, like, and then you'll understand the beauty of like of the sexual energy of the creation, right? Like this is the how you create, how you manifest. Like this is just divine energy that we can touch for just a moment, right? Mhm.
Preach it, Nicole. Preach it. Preach it, mama. Because this goes along and with what I was going to say too is being fully present in your relationships.
Mhm.
Albeit it's just a friend, it's your partner. Being fully present in these moments with people really helps nurture our divine feminine because we're allowing everything else, the distractions, to be put down, and we're allowing for intimate, fully engaged communication. And when you do that, it brings this peace, this calm, this ease in. And
Mhm.
especially when you're engaging in sex with your partner and you are fully present in it, it allows for this moment of intimacy. It allows for that stronger
Yeah.
connection. It allows for your divine feminine to nurture you and nurture that other person.
Yeah, because there's a point with that, like that you become one,
Yes.
right? There's a
Yep.
point where you don't know where one starts and the other one begins. There's a moment in there that you're searching for that will come, but you have to let go and be vulnerable and stop controlling everything and just be there, right? Like, don't think about all of those things and be
Mm-hmm.
present in your body, be in your body, be be, feel those feelings and how intense they are. And like, I don't think we're ever allowed to actually be that way. I mean, even talking about it right now makes me feel a little uncomfortable because like we're not even supposed to express this or talk about it. Like we're supposed to like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah, I can't wait for the conversation we're going to have about sex, because there's another thing that goes along with
Hmm.
this that you're making me think of that I talk about with people often, because more people experience this than it is talked about. And it is the release of emotions you feel after sex, after
Hmm.
a big climax. And it happens for men too. Men are just more vulnerable about showing it. And there's always this guard that's put up with people. And this is something that, again, I talk to people a lot about, because crying after sex is extremely normal. It
Hmm.
is you hitting this divine energy that is
Hmm.
allowing for you to be vulnerable. And it is a buildup that allows the floodgates. It's like a punch through the floodgates. And it gives
Hmm.
you this moment with your partner too, for them to embrace you, for them to
Hmm.
nurture you, for them to show you what it's like to feel vulnerable and feel love behind that.
Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful
Absolutely.
fucking thing.
It's absolutely a beautiful thing. Like and this is the thing is we never talk about this either. Like how are we teaching our kids how to love one another when we can't even love one another in the first place? Like,
Yep.
we take it to such a gross and dark place when it's so needed in this world, and not to feel shamed about or um that it's wrong.
Yeah. And this is why it's so important, you guys. This is why it was important for me and Nicole to have this conversation with you guys about getting in touch. All of us, including the guys that listen, including the they thems that listen, all of us, we need
Absolutely.
to get in touch with these energies so we can start helping other people as well. We can show people through ourselves what it looks like to love ourselves, to care about ourselves,
Mhm.
to respect
Mhm.
ourselves. Like, these energies are really important to work with.
Mhm. And you guys can find your way there. That's, like we can really get down to it and start really standing in our power, which like I've heard that for so long and never really knew or grasped what it really meant until like recently. And I've only scratched the surface, I feel like. But standing in your power is not, it's not the thing that I think it's toxic. I think so. Like I think standing in my power what would have been toxic, or what I thought was toxic. And revisiting these ideas and these energies, and like researching what other people say standing in your power looks like, and watching these people stand in their powers, like when you follow somebody that is uh somebody who you idolize per se on Instagram. Like I started following women that are very confident about their bodies, and I noticed a huge change in myself because I wasn't following the people that didn't look like me, right? Even I've been struggling with like trying to figure out how to put my makeup on because my face has changed. So then it's like, all right, how do I put my makeup on so I feel good and feminine? Because I can't, like, I don't like the way it looks how I used to do it. It doesn't feel right anymore.
Mhm.
So now with that transformation, how do I, just figuring out like, oh, try this one, that one didn't work, try this one. It's this whole research and journey of trying to, work your way through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna, let's see here. Oh, did you look up anything about the light side of femininity and the dark side of femininity?
I did not, because I had 2 pages worth of stuff, and I was like, of course, this is like us breaching the surface. And I was like, dude, I could
Yeah.
go down a damn wormhole with this. So I tried not to, but please give us
Yeah.
what you got.
So I thought it was interesting that somebody broke it down into light and dark, which like makes sense now that I like saw it. But then, so she was saying that light femininity is like sweet and caring and nurturing and what we think like pink and light blue and flowers and delicate, right? Where your dark femininity is more about like mysterious, sexy, wild. I wrote a word down and I don't even know what it
You looked so confused for a second. And I was like, oh God.
persuasive. Maybe it's
Yep. Probably is persuasive.
persuasive. Yeah. Um and the of course the middle path is always the path that you really want to
Strive for.
strive for, right? You don't want to be toxic. You don't want to be, and toxicity, let's get this, I guess what I would think toxicity is putting somebody else down for your own betterment, right? Taking away their will to make you feel better. Like that's toxicity. So like as women, like we need to figure out how to be powerful without being toxic about it. Because that's not what we're striving for. That's not standing in your power. That's taking power from somebody else to have power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were talking about this in the way that how women were treated way back when, and they were talking about how divine masculine and divine feminine has never been reached in this lifetime in the creation of the world, because if it was, if because they were talking about how the rise of femininity is coming up and how they're finally going to um balance out the universe. And I'm like, and what they said is that's not necessarily true, because divine masculine has never been on this planet. So like finding this like divine masculine along with the divine feminine is how we're going to really find peace and find balance in this world. And it doesn't matter what you were born as or what you identify as. These are both not only on the microcosm, but on the outer cosm as well. It's, you have to balance and find those nurturing energies inside of you and then also outside in the world as well. Whether when you're with a partner, that balances out, if I'm more feminine and my partner's more masculine, then that's how we balance that out. And that you don't have the balance if you have to do, if again, if we're standing in the women thing where we're doing anything and we're calling that independent, so then we attract a man that we have to take care of. These are the man babies that we find, right? And no disrespect to that either, because like that's how they were made, right? They haven't found out how to like, it's so hard, I feel, to be a man right now because you don't know what the divine masculine looks like. And I think that's super hard because it's like, well, what do I do with this? How do I be a man? Or how do I be a woman? Because I don't know necessarily how to do that either. Sometimes it's too strong, and sometimes I'm weak and I'm saying sorry about it, about breathing.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I gotta stop saying I'm sorry. I just figured out before I came on the podcast, I was like, I'm gonna start saying excuse me. Because my thing is I start to say I'm sorry. Like I'm in somebody's way.
Ah,
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, why are you sorry? Are you sorry for breathing? Are you sorry for existing? What are you sorry for?
right.
But that's like just the normal go-to thing. Oh, sorry.
You could just start saying "ope" to everything.
Oh,
We live in Michigan, so Midwesterners say "ope." You could just be like,
oh,
"Oh."
oh. Perfect.
No, I think that is really good things to think about though, because I do notice that about others, and then sometimes I don't notice it enough about myself because I have some clients that literally say they're sorry for literally existing. Like it's I'm sorry, I'm here on time. I'm sorry, and it's like
Yeah, did you hear that? I'm here on time and I'm sorry.
you're sorry for being on time. Are you sorry for being in my chair? You're sorry for existing. You're sorry you have to go to the bathroom. You're sorry, like what are you
For
sorry for?
for doing normal. I'm so sorry I have to go to the bathroom. I would rather you go to the bathroom than pee on my chair
Like
or
I'm
be
sorry you
uncomfortable.
exist, man. What are you doing?
Right.
Is that what you want me to say?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah, you're so right because I haven't thought about that deeply enough. And you're right because I'm like, wow, yeah, we do apologize for existing. That
Well,
sucks.
it's still my like programming because I don't, you get into a moment where like you happen to coexist with another person like at the grocery store and you both are reaching for the same thing. And the first thing you want to say is like, oh, I'm in your way. I'm so sorry. And like, but of course, I didn't have another word to put in there because it's a gut reaction. It's a program, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, oh God, what am I going to say now? I need to have something to fill that space so I don't just go,
Yep. I think excuse me is good. I like that.
like, oh, excuse me. Like,
I might
oh,
adapt that as well. Like, oh, excuse me, let me get out of
oh,
your way.
excuse me. Right. Like, it sounds so much better than I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're so right.
I didn't do anything wrong.
No. It's like you walk in front of somebody at the grocery aisle that's looking at something and you say, I'm sorry, because immediately you feel like you're doing something bad because you're in their way.
Right. Right. And think about how fucked up that
That
sounds.
is so
Like,
fucked, man. Sorry I exist is what it's all chalking up to.
oh my God, I'm so sorry I exist.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to touch is like to help people to step into their femininity is watch your nagging and your complaining because this is when you're expressing burnout and your feminine wound. So if you find yourself over nagging, go take a nap if you can. But you really need to like if that's what you're doing and you can notice the self in yourself, this is when you need to start looking and nurturing something inside yourself and maybe sit with her for a minute and see what she needs. She might just need, like I said, she might need a hug. She might need food and she might need a little foreplay before sex.
And to add to that, because this is the last one that I had too, was, and I am a suspect, I'm suspect number one of this, but finding a balance in your schedule. Because if you feel
Yeah.
like you're running on empty and you can't do these things, you can't look at these things for yourself, you might need to pull back on some things.
Yep.
You'll have to like get on your schedule and make sure you have at least one day off a week to do this stuff. One day on the weekend, even
Yep.
a couple
Yep.
hours, even to sit, reflect, and recalibrate.
Absolutely. Just to like, because you give so much to so many people. Have a day that you give to yourself. And if you can only do an hour right now, do an hour.
Yep.
Like maybe like your schedule's booked out for the next 6 weeks. I get it, girl. Like I get it. We've been trying to be boss ass bitches for so fucking long that like I just so exhausted about doing it.
Yeah, me too.
Um, and when you want to step into your femininity really quickly, get in the car, put on some tunes, and sing at the top of your fucking lungs. Now, I love fucking singing, and I'm horrible at it, but I sing like I am the best fucking singer in the entire world. This is how I do it.
I love that.
I love singing so much, and I'm like, I'm not hiding it anymore. I don't even care.
Right.
Um, let's see here. Have people open the door for you. Wait, go slower, like I'm doing right now. Um, don't pay for food. Don't feel like you have to be an equal. You're not. You're feminine and you're masculine. They're not the same. Well, they are equal. I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're different, though, is what I'm trying to say. Start doing these things that we have taught ourselves that, well, I'm an independent woman. I'm going to do this. There's a there's a fine line with that word that is toxic, and it's not vulnerability. You're not being vulnerable. You're not being vulnerable enough to let somebody else pay for your food. Now, I get that there's like another side of that where it's toxic and where like you're taking too much.
You're taking advantage.
Right, and that's different.
That is different.
That hits different.
Mm-hmm.
Um and nobody can tell you where that line is. You got to figure that fucking out for yourself, right? Like we all got to do our homework.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're dating, if you are taking care of everything and you're super independent and you're controlling every aspect of your life, that's exactly who you're going to attract. You're going to attract that guy that will give you more things to do.
Mm-hmm.
You will attract that man baby that doesn't know how to do anything because you're doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're triggered by this, I definitely want you to look it up for yourself. I want you to prove me fucking wrong, right? Do the research, look at it. Look at it for yourself so you can figure out what femininity looks like, right? Um Now, if you want a guy to take care of, by all means, do that. Even if like there's a woman that you want to take care of, do that. I'm okay with it. Like I'm not you got to look at where the toxicity is because if it's not making you happy, 10, 20 years from now you're going to be like I pissed away my life and I wasn't happy for any of it. And really like because we're all going to be there at some point, we're going to be on that deathbed and we're going to be looking back at our life. And is this what you want to see? And if you say yes, yes, that's what I want, right? I
Mm-hmm.
want you to say yes. I want you to look at your life and be like, I fucking lived it, dude. I fucking lived it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stop pointing out our flaws. Nobody wants to hear that bullshit. Now, if you're having a little moment like I have with Cassie, like I'm really feeling my feelings today. I feel really bloated. I feel, you know what I mean? Like that's okay. Like I can confide into Cassie and be okay with that because I know she'll listen and she'll hold me. But I don't have to do this. This is not information that needs to be shared with everybody else.
Well, and you don't have to sit
Uh,
in it.
right,
You could feel your
right.
feelings without sitting in it and then making it a longer, prolonged problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, we do not have to over explain ourselves either. And I'm bad about this.
Mm-hmm. Me
Totally bad
too.
about this. If I need something like, hey, I wanna like even if I'm telling Cassie that I can't do something, right? And I'll be like, well, like if I tell you no because I'm rejecting you and I feel that, I'm like, or even projecting onto you this rejection, I have to over explain why I don't want to do this and why I'm not rejecting you. Like I automatically go into the defensive.
Which is your toxic femininity coming in.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let your masculine do it for you. Yes, we understand that you are a capable human being and you have two legs and two arms that work perfectly well, and maybe you don't, and that's okay too. Let somebody else fucking do it for you.
Even if they're a female presenting person, let their masculinity take care of you sometimes, man. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Again, this is not gender conversation. This is exactly what we're talking
No,
about is the energies in you.
absolutely.
Sometimes somebody else wants to do it. Let them do it.
Let them do that. Let them fulfill their tasks so they feel better about themselves. You don't, it's not all about you, girl. Sit down and let somebody bring you a glass of fucking wine. Stop doing it all the time.
Seriously.
Um, letting again can't find that place where you can be vulnerable. And if you can't find that place where you can be vulnerable, look up vulnerability. Look at what it means. look at TikTok and about what everybody says that they feel like vulnerability is. Figure out where it is in your life, because I bet you've like neglected that bullshit for a long time, because I know I have. And I think, a lot as women, we never feel safe. We've always been taught that, or even being what they've considered weak. Like we've always been taught that as soon as I walk out in the dark at night, I'm going to be raped or beat up or robbed. These are things that I've been taught, my whole life. And I'm like, okay, like that's like I can't drive to Canada by myself. I'm a woman. How would I how would I what if my car breaks down? What am I going to do? What if what if find your vulnerability. Find it, put it up on a pedestal, do what you got to do with it. Find your vulnerability. Find your vulnerability. I can't say that enough. Feel your feelings. Tell people about your feelings. Express your feelings. That is very feminine. That is very much a feminine energy. Start everything out with I feel. And this will really help you step forward into that power. Let her show you who she is so that you can wear her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this will really help with all of I know it helps. This has like been great for me. I'm like, oh my God. I totally have been running from the masculine side of me to protect my feminine side because I don't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
That sounds like
Right.
bad news bears.
The only few things I have to add is sometimes it's hard for us to jump right into our interpersonal space, right? So there are some other things you can do to help start that process. And a huge one that's for Divine Feminine is going to be being creative. Start drawing, making music, baking, cooking,
Painting.
writing. That
Yeah. Make
creative energy is healing energy.
makeup. Do a makeup
Do
tutorial
makeup.
for yourself or for not.
Yeah.
Like do makeup.
Exactly. And another one is just connecting with Mother Earth. Like getting out in nature, taking a
Hmm.
walk, sitting in her energy. That can start to move things for you too, to where it can help to like get that interpersonal space more open. And so you can feel comfy being in it. So you could actually look at these aspects because sometimes it feels like a lot of looking at ourselves and you feel like
Hmm.
you're in a pressure cooker all the time. Nicole and I were just talking about this
We
the other
were.
day because we do this all the time where we're constantly looking at ourselves and the things that we're doing to make ourselves better. And sometimes it can feel like a lot of pressure. And there are some other outlets like this, like going out in nature that can feel really good,
Hmm.
that can get you in that kind of energy where you're connecting, but then you're not always in the pressure cooker, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
even like reading something fun,
yeah.
movies.
Dancing, moving your hips, man. Your hips hold a lot of
Yeah.
feminine energy in them, even for you, my dudes that present as
Yep.
dudes. Get your
Yep.
hips moving, baby.
Get your hips moving. Start taking a salsa dancing class. That's what we need to do.
Salsa, yes.
Let's do some salsa dancing.
Yes. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on too is some masculine gods that have feminine energy and can help my masculine presenting people to get in touch with this energy in a way that feels masculine, like because I know this can be a hard conversation with gender being like a thing.
Yeah.
So Helios is a great one. Helios is a sun god, but he's about
Yeah.
love and passion and like he is a
Being bright.
male god who
Yeah.
is has a lot of feminine energy. That divine feminine is huge in him. A few other ones that I would love for you guys to look up on your own because I was looking them up and I could go into a rabbit hole on this though is Min Yrmir, which is Ymir, probably saying it wrong, Scandinavian. Happy, and then there is a um Islamic god as well, Arabic god, I think. I can't remember exactly, so please look this up. I'm going to spell it for you because I have no freaking idea how to say this, but this one really hit heavily for me too. And it's Ardhanarishvara. Really long, But this was a good one too, because they're all about love and fertility, but they are a masculine and feminine deity all in one.
Oh, that's so
Like they
cool.
have both body parts. So I thought that that would be really helpful too, because then you can kind of look at what that looks like. My personal favorite's going to be Helios, just because such a cool god. Also, like has that just that so masculine, but has the divine feminine in such a beautiful way.
Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, the sun projects,
Yep.
and that's masculine. But he's so bright and flashy, and that's kind of feminine.
Yes. Yeah,
And he
exactly.
nurtures, he gives life. Like there's so much that definitely is like both energies. That's so crazy.
Yeah. So I thought that would be really helpful, like I said, for like our masculine presenting people, because I feel like there's not, it's like Nicole was saying, in this universe, in the ether that we live in, it is very hard for us to find the balance of both of these, because if we had them, the world would not be the world we live in. And we don't have a lot of great examples of this other than the ascended masters. And some of them are perfect examples as well, like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is a good example, I think, of a great balance between the two, nurturing people
Absolutely.
while
Mm-hmm.
also showing strength and leadership, giving love. You know, it's like these two balances that no wonder he's an ascended master.
Yeah, also protecting people that are being attacked.
Yes. So there's a lot of examples in history and in mythology and all the mythologies all over the world, because I have adapted that word for everything now. And that you can find people
Mm-hmm.
for your specific wants and needs. Like if you are a very feminine person who does not know how to express your masculine, there are some beautiful examples of this. Athena,
Mm-hmm.
great example in mythology of a female presenting, femme dominating person who has a great masculine, divine masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep in mind, you guys, there's a lot of mythology out there that can help you make it make sense too.
Yeah, because who's the huntress too? Isn't that Diana or
In Greek,
yeah, I think Diana. There's a couple huntresses, I feel like. But they're also moon goddesses. I think Diana is the one
okay,
that is
let's just see.
shown with a bow.
Or Artemis.
Artemis, yeah.
I think Artemis also has a bow.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if those are the same goddess or if they're different. Like if they have like one goddess, two names kind of thing.
Right.
I can't remember. I'd have to look that up.
It's like Hecate.
Yeah.
Or better yet, the Morgan.
The Morgan.
My favorite. Very, very many faces to that name.
Mm-hmm. She
But
does
yeah,
that.
that's what I got for you guys.
All right. So get your hugs, get your food, and foreplay starts way before bed.
I love that.
That's all
Welcome
you
to
need.
Nicole's TED Talk. I'm here to
That's right.
tell you today, get your hugs, get your foods, and foreplay starts before bed. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You're welcome.
That is great advice to end on, peeps.
Mhm.
Okay, friends. I think that's it for Divine Feminine, which was a lot. So
Yeah, I think it was very cool. Very excited about it.
get your thinking hats on, along with the three things that Nicole said. And if you can tell us what the three things that Nicole said at the end of that word, you're in good shape.
Absolutely.
You're in good shape, baby.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, peeps. Well, have a good week and we will chat at you later.
What are we doing next week? Do you remember?
I am not sure yet. We have to figure that out, but it'll be
Oh,
kind of a surprise for you guys. For
it's
a
gonna
surprise
be.
episode.
Ooh, surprise episode. That's nice.
Okay, well, bye-bye, heathens.
Bye.